Hope everybody is having a wonderful day. For me, this is my Friday, so that means that I have lots of cleaning, a little bit of cooking, and I get to make challah today. Woo woo! So I'm just carrying out my morning with some coffee, enjoying it in one of my glorious cow mugs. And I'm gonna take you guys along with me through my cleaning adventure and then also me making my challah. Everything will be in the description down below, the recipe I use and links to all of our social media accounts and our website that has awesome blogs on it. I do have to say, if you see back there, I have a toaster oven. Gavin and I no longer use a microwave, and that is because of Jackie. She has an awesome blog talking about their journey with microwaves and how they don't use them anymore. Oh, and my cat. She is super talkative. She likes to hang out with me in the kitchen. But anyways, I have full sink of dirty dishes and clean dishes. I also have a pile of clothes. I went to Goodwill yesterday. They were having lots of different sales and stuff. I got this t-shirt, I got some sweatpants, and then a whole bunch of shirts. And then I also went to TJ Maxx and picked up a few things. So anyways, I'm gonna take you guys along with me. I hope this is enjoyable for you. Make sure to like the video and subscribe. And also make sure to check out Jackie and Holly's past two videos, Holly's Day in the Life and Jackie's Himalayan Salt Cleanse. It was really cool. I need to try it sometime. So I'll see y'all then. Okay guys, so I just cleaned my first round of dishes and I tried to record it, but for whatever reason, my camera decided it didn't want to record it. But don't worry, you'll get to see me wash more dishes later. But for right now, it is breakfast time. And for those of you that don't know, I guess the best word would be kind of like struggle or deal with having PCOS issues. If you guys don't know what that is, it is the big long term polycystic ovarian syndrome. Basically just means that I have cystic ovaries and problems that arise with that. Anyways, I'll be having a video out later explaining more of what I do and more inclusive of the meals that I eat, but I wanted to show you guys the breakfast that I'm having today. So it is, we are having, and I'm so sorry that my kitchen is so dark. I am very sensitive to lights, so I don't have very many lights in my kitchen, but I do spinach with 2 scrambled eggs, and these are the seasonings that I use in that. I use garlic powder, onion powder, and Italian seasoning. I don't put salt and pepper. And then I will have 1 or a half of an avocado on 2 small pieces of toast. And that is my breakfast. I know that a lot of you guys probably watching this don't necessarily suffer with PCOS, but this is a great breakfast for anybody that is needing a good amount of healthy protein, maybe even some extra vegetables. Spinach is really good for iron deficiency, iron deficient people. And avocado overall is kind of like a superfood, in my opinion. Avocado does so many things. You can make masks out of it. You can do literally anything with that stuff. So here we go. all ready to go. This is what it is. Just those 2 small pieces of avocado toast and some egg. Ladies, I just wanted to let you guys know that even though you have PCOS, it doesn't mean that you have to starve yourself. You know, you can still eat food, you can still eat what you like. You just have to do everything in moderation. So, you know, try out different things. Try this recipe out. See if it works well for you. See how it makes you feel. Just because I do something doesn't mean it's gonna work for you. But it is definitely worth the shot. So. Put our challah together. So first off, very first thing you're going to need is to get all of your ingredients out. This is the flour that I use. It's Arrowhead Mills organic all-purpose flour, and it's made from red wheat. You guys can get this from Walmart. I think it's about $5 a bag, so it's not too unreasonable. This is the sugar I use. It's just a Manna pure cane sugar, non-GMO. I use an organic extra virgin olive oil. I get this big container from Sam's. Just some of your normal salt. You'll need some measuring spoons. I do, if you guys can see that, maybe. So the, I'll just tell y'all. So the oil in the recipe calls for 1/2 cup. And I do a little bit over that line. I know you guys can't see that. And then you'll need 5 eggs. This is 2/3 cup of sugar, which is the cane sugar that I showed you, and then 1.5 tablespoons of salt. You guys can mix these 2 up however you like it. We usually do about 1.5 tablespoons. I just use this active dry yeast. Here is my 5 tablespoons of yeast. And to get started, you guys will need 1 3/4 cup of hot water. I don't know if you guys can see the steam. You don't want it boiling, but you want just the hottest tap water that you can find. And then we have 5 tablespoons of yeast here. So we're gonna dump that in. Stir it up. I like to use a spoon. Make sure to get it off the sides. And it's okay to rough this up. It's okay to try to get it all dissolved and mixed in there. And the recipe will call for you to do this in the bowl that you're going to put the rest of your ingredients in. But I just find it a lot easier, and the yeast acts a lot better when I keep it in my measuring cup first. Mix all of the sugar, the salt, and the oil in my measuring cup, and then put it in there with the flour and everything. So we are just going to wait for the yeast to activate. You want to let it sit for about 5 minutes, and then after that you're going to add your sugar, salt, and oil. Okay guys, so this is what your yeast should look like after about 5 minutes. This is another reason why I like to put it in a clear container or my measuring cup, because I can see if the yeast have actually activated. And you can always tell, goodness, having a hard time focusing, you can always tell when there is that thin line of yeast foam. Or at least I call it yeast foam. I don't know what it's actually called. So let me get you set up. I need a different tripod, y'all. So kind of just making do with what I've got for right now. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is we are going to add our salt and sugar. So we're going to put in our salt and sugar. So you're gonna throw that on in there and give it a good stir around. And next we are going to put in the oil. Now remember, I do a little bit more than 1/2 cup, which is what the recipe calls for. I just find that it makes the bread even more moist. So we're gonna throw that on in. Okay, we're gonna mix it up. And then next, we are going to just pour it in here. All right. Let me see if I can put you guys a little bit higher. This is real life, y'all. Real life of trying to vlog without a decent tripod. You kind of just have to like make it work. So let's see if this can put you guys any higher so I can see you. That's a little bit better. Maybe if I crouch down. Okay, so then we're going to put our eggs in. And you want to do these individually. You don't want to just put all 5 of them in at the same time, because you want to make sure that they are all broken and all the yolks are completely mixed in. So we're just going to do one at a time. And when it comes to like cooking utensils, guys, you just use whatever you have. Like, don't go buy anything. Anything can work. I just use one of these baking spatulas. I find them the easiest to break the eggs. So I just break them. Don't know if you guys can see that. You just break them, kind of mix them in. I do one of these guys. So I wanted to talk to you guys about manna. And just talk to you about how important and how special challah is, especially in my house. So when I found out that challah bread was a representation of manna, the bread that the Lord sent down from heaven in the book of Exodus, chapter 16, you guys can go read it. It was the bread that the Lord sent down to those who were leaving Egypt, and it was to feed them on the Sabbath. Because they were complaining to the Lord about how they didn't have food, and how Moses took them out of Egypt, and you know, they were going to starve because they left too early for their bread to rise. So that's why they didn't have bread. So the Lord sent that down, and they made the bread. And that's why traditionally when it comes to challah, you make it on Friday, and you can make 2 loaves. And I also wanted to share how challah is the representation of manna, and manna is the representation of Yeshua. So I don't know, y'all. I just think it's so cool. And challah is also supposed to represent, especially with all the different braids and stuff that you do, it's supposed to represent the relationship that we have with our Father and with our brothers and sisters. And I do 6 braided challah. So this recipe is going to make 2 6-braided loaves of challah, by the way. So let me know how you guys are doing. How is life? Are you guys enjoying our videos? Give us suggestions and video suggestions down below. All right. So after we've cracked all of our eggs, this is what your mixture should look like. Don't know if y'all can see that, but it looks like an oily, eggy, yellow mess. So you just want to make sure all of the yolks are broke and evenly combined into this mixture. So this recipe calls for 8 cups of flour. That's a lot of flour. And you want to add in 1 cup like each time. So you want to add in a cup of flour, stir it, make sure it's combined, and then another cup, and then another cup. If you guys had a stand mixer, this would make this a lot easier, but if not, if you're just doing it by hand like I am, you're gonna get a workout. So to keep from forgetting how many cups you do, because it's gonna take a little bit in between each time of putting flour in, get you a piece of paper and a pen and make tallies to make sure that you don't underdo or put in an extra cup that you're not supposed to. So, all right. So there's 1. You just want to mix this up. And eventually I would like to get one of those tripods that sits like above everything so you guys can see me cook and everything a little bit easier. And just remember, y'all, bread is very forgiving, especially at this stage. It's, don't rush, just enjoy it. Turn on some music, turn on some worship music, and just spend some time with the Father. Just remember that this bread is supposed to be a representation of, you know, Yeshua and how he takes care of us, and just how it's supposed to feed your family, just like the Lord fed those that were leaving Egypt. And I've got to be honest with you guys, I'm still learning. I'm still learning about challah, still learning about all the scriptures that go with it, because it's actually a pretty symbolic bread. So here is our second cup. So we have 2 cups of flour in already. There's my little dashes. So we're just gonna keep doing this until we get to 8. All right, I'm going to come back and show you guys what I've got after I have 8 cups of flour in there. Hey guys, we have our 8 tallies of flour in the bowl. Hands are already a mess. And I'm gonna show you guys what it looks like and how much you should need it, like what you need it to look like. And the recipe down below has really good pictures and examples of what it needs to look like. So this is just me using my hands a little bit and using this spatula to get everything mixed in. So now we are just going to knead the dough to make sure that we get all this excess flour inside of this little bundle of joy. So you kind of want to use the fold and press method like this. And don't be afraid to add extra flour. It's all right. This stuff is kind of sticky. If it's over sticky, get you some more flour and sprinkle it on there. Just do a little bit at a time. Don't use too much. You can turn it over. I think kneading dough has to be one of my favorite things about making bread. It's just so soothing. And you guys can take this out. You can put it on the counter with some flour, cutting board, whatever is easiest for you. I find it's easiest for me to just leave it in the bowl like it is and knead it. It keeps it a little bit more controlled, and I can turn the bowl like this to make sure I'm getting all the sides. So just find what's easiest for you, try out different things, and I promise this bread will come out perfect. And I do want to mention that you do want it a little bit sticky. I don't know if you guys can see that, but how it's kind of sticking to my fingers a little bit, but it pulls off. That's the consistency that you guys want. You don't want too much flour. Okay, so now when it looks like the perfect little bun baby, you are going to transfer it. You can see me. You're going to transfer it to a bigger bowl. So I have my biggest bowl. These work awesome. I don't have a KitchenAid, y'all, but these mixing bowls that come like accessories to that KitchenAid stand-up mixer are awesome for things like this. Or you can just use whatever you have. It doesn't have to be super fancy. It can even be the biggest like Tupperware container that you have. So this is fully greased, if you guys can see that. Maybe about a tablespoon and a half for this big of a bowl. You just want to make sure you have a big enough container so you give your bread enough room to rise, because that's a lot of dough. So you want a bigger bowl than what you mix it in, because this monster is gonna grow like crazy. So we're just gonna transfer it over here. I kind of like to round it out. Y'all don't have to do that. And now we are going to go to my secret foolproof way of rising your dough. So you can put saran wrap over this. If you guys have proofing bowls, I've heard that that works really well. I don't own one of those, so I kind of had to improvise. If you guys follow us on Instagram, you will already see this method. I've already shown everybody, but the secret is a heat pad. So all you're gonna do is throw a towel over your bowl. Any kind of towel will work just fine. And then you wanna get a heat pad. This was $20 from Walmart. I use it for everything pretty much. And we are just going to turn it on. Turn it on high. And we are going to let this sit for an hour and a half, maybe even 2 hours. It just depends on how long it's going to take for your dough to double in size. So I will show you guys the first proofing. Okay guys, it has been about 2 hours since we put the dough in the bowl. So now we are going to go check it out, see how it looks. And if it looks a-okay, we're gonna punch it down, flip it over, and let it sit for another 45 minutes. So here it is, all covered up. Dang, I don't know if you guys remember what it looked like before. That's big. So all we're gonna do is take our hand, punch it down like that. I kind of like to fold in the sides a little bit. And then, oh, that's kind of difficult to do with one hand. So then you just kind of want to flip it over. Maybe round it back out. And now we are going to cover it back up. And I do like to put some kind of towel on top of the heat pad. I feel like it just keeps in the heat a little bit more. So there we go. Alright guys, another 45 minutes underneath the heat pad. After that proof is done, we are going to take it out, section it off, and start braiding our dough, get it ready for the third proof. Alright, we are ready and done with our second proof. So let's take a look and see how the bread did. So for this next step, you are obviously going to need your proofed dough and a cutting board with some flour on it, a sharp knife, and a greased pan. Here we are. So I'm gonna prop y'all. Okay, so what we're gonna do is, like before, we're going to punch the dough down, just like that. Kind of make it flat. And then we need to take it out of the pan or the bowl. So now we have our lump of dough. I like to turn mine kind of into a log. So first what you're wanting to do is try to get it as even as possible. Okay, so as you guys can see, it's kind of even up here. Now we are going to cut it in half. And the funny thing about challah with me is I always seem to have a pretty dough, like a pretty loaf, and then I always seem to have kind of like a ugly, not so pretty loaf. So you're just gonna set one clump of it to the side. Okay, so now we are going to cut these halves into sixths. Sixths? That's how you say it. All right. So I like to go in with my knife and kind of map out where I'm going to cut. Okay guys, so once you get your challah out, I've already made my first loaf, so this one is going to be my second. You want to split it in half and then take each half and lay it flat, kind of like this. And then you're going to make slits in it to enough to make 6 pieces, okay? So I've already done that. I've already put my slits into the bread to make sure that I have 6 separate pieces once I cut through. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. And you'll wanna make sure that you have a really sharp knife for this step. And it's okay if they're not perfectly even. I would suggest to just try to get them to where you can. And if anything, you can just tear off from a piece and kind of fold it inside to one of the mounds and you'll be able to you'll be just fine. See, like this one's a little bit smaller than the rest. So I'm just gonna take a piece and kind of mold it into it, make it a little bit bigger. It's all right if they're not perfect. So now we are going to take our pieces. Something that I suggest is to make sure that you have flour down on the counter and then also put a little bit of olive oil on your hand, and it's going to make the rolling out process so much smoother for you. Now, something I suggest with this also is to just take your time, because the faster and the more that you mess with the dough, the more it's going to become tough and dry. So just take your time and it'll keep your bands or your strands from ripping. Okay guys, so when you have your 6 strands done, you want to lay them out, and the first thing you're going to do is bind them together. And I know that this angle is really bad for showing you guys how to braid this challah, so I am just going to speed through this real quick, and I will link a better video down below that'll be much more helpful. Now that it is all braided, you're going to get your greased pan and slide it onto it. So here is my first one. I always like to say that I have a pretty challah and then kind of an ugly, like, you know, my first time challah. So here is that one. So we're just gonna pick this one up and slide it on over, and you can already see the difference in this one here that's already had time to sit and rise while I've been working on this one, how big it is. So I just wanted to encourage all of you guys that even if your challah isn't absolutely picture perfect, just know that everybody that you're making it for will love it, because you put so much time and effort into this bread, and it always gets better when it rises. It always does. So what we're gonna do is take this on over. So you'll want to bring it on back on over to the stove, and we're going to do the same thing again. We're just going to cover these bad boys up and put the heat pad back on top for about an hour and a half. All right, so we are done with our third proof. This is what our bread looks like. Looks so good. They puffed up a lot. So not gonna lie, this is probably one of my less pretty loaves I've ever done, but that's all right. So now we're just going to take our egg with a little bit of water, and inside of that I did put some Italian seasoning, onion, garlic powder, and salt and pepper. So you're just going to take that and brush that on. And while you guys are waiting for the last little bit for your bread to rise, you are going to set your oven to 375. And when you put that in, you're going to put it in there for 20 minutes. After the 20 minutes is done, you're going to take it out and put some more egg wash on it. And then I usually put mine back in for about 7 minutes. So in total, it'll take the bread 27 minutes to cook. So if you guys are having it for dinner or lunch or whatever, you're taking it to a family's house, make sure you give yourself at least 30 minutes to cook on top of 10-ish minutes to cool down before packing it up or eating it. So I'm just gonna finish doing this and then I will pop it in the oven. Okay, we have our challah out of the stove. I'm gonna show you guys, and because it's getting darker outside, super gloomy out, super rainy, so like it doesn't help my no lighting situation right now. So I'm gonna hold this over the stove so you guys can see the challah better, okay? We're just keeping it real here on Shalom and Shine. So there it is. 2 big old loaves of challah bread. Super excited to dig in. I am going to cut off a piece and try it for you guys. Steaming. I don't know if you guys can see that, but here it is. Super, super squishy, super yummy. Put some butter on it, obviously. Okay, here is the taste test. Cheers. That is good stuff. Y'all need to make this. You need to follow that recipe down below and make this bread. Thank you guys for hanging out with me today here on Shalom and Shine. I hope that this was at least a little bit entertaining for you, and I hope that I was able to teach you something about challah bread that you didn't know before. Like I've said before, the recipe that I follow is going to be down below. Just remember that I have made modifications to it just a little bit to accommodate for Missouri weather, and then also for my oven. So every oven is going to be different, so it's okay if you don't get it the first try. Anyways, I love y'all so much. We appreciate you guys coming back to the channel, and Shalom.